We've now got the Karma Effect on the line. Now, you guys are about to release a new album. Cruel Intentions is coming out. But I think this is the first album I've come across you guys on. So I suppose let's start with, tell us a bit about the Karma Effect.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, Robbie Blake, the guitar player, and myself, we've been, we put this band together back in 2021. I sort of came to him right at the end of the pandemic and was like, I've been writing these songs and should we put, let's get a band together. And, originally it started with it almost being a bit of a solo project and me asking him if he wanted to play on it. And what quickly happened is we developed into a kind of all singing, all dancing, fully fledged rock band, and ended up kind of having a little bit of early success because at the time we kind of came around, we managed to get in between lockdowns and things like that to record some songs. And because there was no other bands really doing it at that time because of the world had shut down, we kind of had something fresh. So we kind of, for such a kind of rubbish period of everybody's life, we managed to make something quite good out of it because, we were the band that everybody was started listening to because it was this like fresh kind of music. And then after that, the world opened up again and we hit the road and we kind of started setting about getting a name for ourselves as a live band, which was always what we wanted to do. And we put out 2 records. And our second record, we had a UK top 20. So we got signed to Earache. And then, despite some lineup changes and things like that, we kicked the door open with this third album and kind of here we are. And we're ready to kind of, get it out to the world, really. And that's kind of our story up till now.
There was sweat dripping down her chest, condensation on the windows, I must confess, and the whole world was slipping away. Young lovers on the backseat, she leads me astray, but it breaks my heart to see her run back to him, 'cause he don't treat you like a lady, don't know where to begin. You don't need a man just to hold your hand, that's why you're calling me up in the middle of the night, yeah. Need a lover who will treat you right. We're going ride or die. I'm gonna take you to the end of the line. We're gonna take our time. It only takes one night to leave the world behind, yeah.
I mean, like you say, the world shuts down in COVID and a lot of bands couldn't do anything. Now, presumably, like you say, that gave you an opportunity to work on material. But then the moment the world opened up again, then there was trying to book a venue or get a gig was nigh on impossible because everybody was trying to do that. Was that the downside of then presumably being a band with no reputation?
So again, we kind of did everything in a bit of a weird order. Now I've been playing in bands, all my life, and this was always going to be like, I've always said to myself, if this doesn't work, then it's time to go and do other sorts of music, like just be a jobbing musician. We ended up getting a manager really early on. In fact, we hadn't even played a gig. We'd only released 2 songs, and he signed us off the back of how we sounded, and was like, "I'm gonna nurture this, and I'm gonna take you forward." And he gave us some fantastic advice really early on. We ended up getting a gig at the infamous Leo's Red Lion in Gravesend. That was our first ever show, and it was a lockdown restriction show where no one could stand up or do anything, because apparently if you stand up at a gig you spread COVID, which we found hilarious. So that was outside and we did it, and it was filmed. The whole gig was filmed. Like someone filmed the entire show, and the live footage of our set circulated, and then we started getting offers in and people started listening to the recorded singles that we put out, and before long we didn't really struggle to get any gigs off the bat. And then obviously we had some small kind of opening acts, tour supports. And yeah, like I said, we just kind of cut our teeth just doing that, being the dog's body. And we took everything that we could get. We'd go all over the country for nothing to just get out and play in front of people and spread our name. And yeah, and like that's kind of how we kind of got to where we are now and have such a amazing fan base.
She keep me dancing on the tip of my toes. I get myself straight, then I lose control. Who am I to blame when she's burning like a flame? It's euphoria, all of her naughty little ways. She keeps me hanging over all the wrong reasons. Yeah, I still wind up at the door. Can't put my finger on what it is I'm feeling, but her hand on my chest, the way she pulls me to bed got me. I'm addicted to the rush, yeah, I'm caught up in this dangerous love. All I need's a little touch, yeah, I'm caught up in this dangerous love.
And that sort of classic rock, I mean, I hate to pigeonhole bands into any genre, and I never know what genre we're in until you're halfway through it or whatever, but that classic rock sound, which presumably never gets old, but here you are with a new band doing something that sounds more mature. Let's go with mature rather than old. Is there a classic rock revival? Is it something that's just never gone away? Championing that sound, are you fighting to find a pigeonhole or a space for yourselves, or are you being embraced by that?
I think it's a really good question, and I think that I don't think it's ever gone away. And for every decade we've been in since the heyday, let's say, let's go back to like 1995 was the cut-off point, right? With where the kind of like the behemoth giants of the 70s and 80s really started shifting. But even then, they just adapted and evolved and changed. But, for every decade since then, in the 2000s, you had the Darkness. They were a massive shot in the arm, shot in the arm for rock. But then also you had other things like what I would call rock and roll. You had bands like The Strokes. You had the Kings of Leon and all of these like leather jackets, hats and low slung guitars. Yeah, there might have been an indie element to it and there might have been a pop element to it, but they were a rock and roll band. They're like quintessentially DNA. It's rock and roll. And then obviously, right now at the moment on the main stage, as it were, we've got people like Youngblood and acts like this that are really, really, really flying the flag on a commercial stage for the rock star, classic rock and roll thing. I really respect him for that, regardless of his music and whatever. And I know people are like, is he like parodying it or what? But I think that it's genuine, and I think that we need someone like that. If you filter that down into where we are, I don't think it's ever gone away. There's always been incredible upcoming rock bands, whether or not it might have been fashionable or not at the time. We've always had incredible upcoming talent rock bands. Where we're at right now is we have an insanely popular underground scene in the new wave of classic rock and all of these things where it's people that are actively discovering new bands rather than old bands. They want new bands, and that scene has championed bands like Massive Wagons and Those Damn Crows or whoever, and it's really, really championed us as well. It's really propelled our band forward, and like I said, we would not have had a top 20 album in the UK if it wasn't for that scene, and that you think we're taking that to a wider audience now. So I don't think it's ever gone away, and we owe a lot to that scene. I think that there are some fantastic bands. I do think that what sets the Karma Effect apart is that we've always tried to look at everything with a slightly more, even though we are quintessentially a retro act in the way we sound, we've always tried to be like, what would happen if we took that and we took it from 1975 or 76 and we bought it and we transported it to 2026 and we gave it a modern edge. And rather than going down the route of being one of those bands that records their music like on a single tape track recorder in a room, and trying to get, which I think sounds fantastic, that kind of real retro Greta Van Fleet, Dirty Honey thing, which is awesome because we love those bands. We want to sound like a modern band, but we just want everybody, and we want our aesthetic and our vibe and our music to just be retro. But we want it to be like, if I took my favorite record, if I took Aerosmith's debut album and I re-recorded it in 2026, it's that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel like we've tried to approach our sound.
I like to think I play rock music, so I'll play everything from Led Zeppelin to Five Finger Death Punch, and there's, if you, regardless of whether you like post-hardcore or new metal, I don't want to listen to that, and I like those genres, but I don't necessarily want to listen to them the whole time. And I think presumably there's always elements for something left of centre or right of centre, because the centre keeps moving, doesn't it? So
totally. But what I love about rock music in general, and what I mean, we're a classic rock band. We understand, and we know that we are not reinventing the wheel. And we are proud of that, because there is no need to do with what we want to do. There's no need to do that. We're playing the music that we absolutely love to down to our core, and we want to create. We want to just have our tiny slither of that massive thing. And the fact that we have people that love that and want to listen to it is just a huge bonus. We're playing music that we love. We're not doing it for any other reason. We're not trying to rip someone else off or anything like that. We're just like, we love this genre. I love writing songs, and I like writing the songs that sound like the Karma Effect, and we just kind of go with it. But that being said, I think what's so fantastic about it is that there is a place for all these subgenres, and I like a bit of post, a little bit of hardcore. I like a bit of kind of alt rock, electronic rock, Nine Inch Nails, things like that. But the one thing that I'll always come back to is my love of bands like Aerosmith and the Black Crowes, and the kind of American sounding rock that I've always loved. And that's kind of why and where we're at and what we're influenced by.
I've been trying for all the wrong reasons, always wasting my time. Keep on playing for the wrong team, baby, but now I'm moving on down that line. And then she came along and took me on. Made my match, but I could be wrong. She had a hurricane smile and a devilish look in her eye. Yes, she did.
I'm going to digress now slightly, because are you playing in the same way that bands played 30 years ago? Because having been to festivals and things recently, I think I was alarmed by how common tracking is now. We don't have a bass player, we don't need to have one, because it's all on the track, and there's that choir on the track and the strings on the track, and we've added 3 more guitars on the backing track. And it's just, so what am I who's actually playing anything at this stage? I mean, is that? But I appreciate that is how the industry has now gone. And if you want to replicate that studio sound, that's what you have to do, because people expect it. But that sort of changed from, I never expected a live show to sound like the album. I went for a different experience. But I mean, you may now tell me that all your backing tracks.
No. I don't expect anybody to come to our gig and expect it to sound like the record. If you want that, then turn the lights off in your house and stick the album on and put some funky lights on or something like that. I don't know. But like, if you come and see the Karma Effect, you're going to get the one thing that I will say that is super retro is we pride ourselves on the fact that rock and roll needs to be played like it used to be played. You know, it's raw, it's energetic, it's not clinical. We rehearse hard and we put on, and the only bit that's clinical in our show is that we rehearse hard, and our show, we put on a show. It's not a gig, it's a show. It's like going to see an event at a stadium but in a club. And that's how we've always tried to approach it, is that we want it to have drum solos. And if you want to go and take a leak, then that's fine. But we want it to have, you know, segues into songs. We want it to have speeches. We want it to have whatever it is that makes it, you know, a cool rock show. That's what we want to do. And we pride ourselves on that. But we never set out. We might change. The guys look at me a lot. I'll stand in the middle. And if I want to do something, they just got to figure it out and go with what I'm doing. If I'm like, I'm going to extend this and I'm like giving it that, like, let's go around again, or I'm like bringing it down or whatever. It's like, we vibe in it. And, you know, and that's kind of the thing that I think rock and roll should be, is that it's different for every night you come and see us. We might do something different. I might sing something differently, might say something differently. You know, it's never, and we change the set a lot. You know, we're not a band that rehearses a set and that's it for 20 days or the next year or whatever. I'm like, I want to do this one off the album because I love it. Or Robbie or Nathan or whatever, it's like, can we give this one a go? And we're like, yeah. Sometimes you fall flat on your face and you're like, that didn't work. We need to really think about that. But sometimes you don't. And it's just like, that's where the magic lies for me anyway.
Then she take it all and dance with me real slow, yeah, I'm ready to go. Stick on some rock and roll and then she rock my world, yeah. Set it off, let it burn into the night. Set it off, a love like this will never die. 'Cause I've been waiting on a miracle today. Oh, maybe she's a miracle to come my way. Yeah, some cheap.
So tell us about Cruel Intentions. And this is your third album. When does it coming out? It's coming out soon.
Comes out on Friday. That's the 15th of May. And yeah, I mean, it is our third album. It's definitely our most mature album. I feel like the last two records we needed to write to get to this point. And, you know, I don't think we could have written this off the bat. And I don't think that we could have written this for the last record, which was very successful in its own right. But it was it was very easy to write. It was, the songs kind of fell out of me. I do most of the writing and the guys kind of add to what I do. And the songs kind of, from very early on, they just kind of spoke for themselves. It's got a slightly darker undertone than our last record, which was a bit more, you know, sort of like upbeat. But so this is a bit sonically a bit heavier, and it's been mixed a little bit thicker. And yeah, I'm just incredibly proud of it. You know, it's 11 tracks on this record, plus bonus tracks on extended editions. And I just think that for me, you know, when we sat down to work out what we were going to do with it, we couldn't think of a single song that we didn't want as a lead single. And I know that I'm biased, but, you know, for me, I feel like that's an amazing thing where you sit there and you're like, wow, like, I'm just incredibly proud of this, and what are we going to lead with and things like that. Yeah, it's a fantastic record, and yeah, we just cannot wait now for people to hear the whole thing in its entirety, because we put out 4 singles and they are the singles that we've collectively landed on. But, you know, I think there are some incredible album tracks on this that people are going to love more than the singles. So I'm excited to see what people think.
This love only burns in the midnight hour, just a late night caller and sucker for your touch. I'm just another fool
At the moment, well, we've got a headline tour booked throughout November this year, and that will be, our set's longer than 90 minutes now. Our set's looking at more like, near 100, 120 minutes. Like we've got so many songs that we want to play, and as long as we keep it fresh and interesting for the fans, there's no reason why we can't do that. So we're excited to get out and do that. But yeah, we've also got some cool things lined up with some support tours that we're discussing at the moment. Nothing's been finalised as of yet, but it's in its final stages, let's just say. So people will hopefully be hearing about it fairly soon.
Your touch only burns when you hold me that way, baby. Try to get you out my head, and now you're crawling in my bed. You got crimson on your lips and on your fingertips, and like a flick of the switch, you can take me down. Use me till the morning. Break my heart and leave without a warning. Feel the fire burning. Your love's got a hold on me, but it's bad manners, baby, if you don't say please.
So I can see your tour kicks off end of October, doesn't it? And then
Yeah, that's right.
all the way through into December, I suppose. And festival-wise, over the summer, I see you're playing Nozfest, which is one I've not heard of. 1865 isn't far away from us in Southampton, and that's an all-day festival thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got just the way the touring our kind of album cycles lined up. We're probably going to have a few more of the bigger festivals next summer, and that's just the way the cycle's gone with how they book bands and things like that. But yeah, we've got some really cool things, and we've got some things over in Europe as well. We're going over to it's like Bordeaux in France to do a cool big festival out there. And yeah, we've just got a couple of we're either headlining or main support on a few sort of fantastic all day things that the fans get to come out and experience loads of different bands. And, we're one of the kind of main acts on those things, which is great. And it's just giving us an opportunity to play some of these songs, get them ready for the headline tour, and then hopefully into the festival season next summer as well. So yeah, it's really exciting. We'll just say a really exciting time.